Good morning, family. Today's topic is my first memories. My first ever memory, because this is what always stands out in my mind, is my mother and I being removed from the home that I was born in on Charlton Drive in Yorton to a place called Cotton Peace. I remember, I don't know if she had made trips before, but I know that the trip that I went on in this small white van pickup owned by a man named Mr. Robbie. I remember that she packed stuff in it, and there was this brown dog that we had. He was placed in the van also, and we headed to Cotton Peace, wherein she opened her first business, a bar. Prior to that, she was a bartender along Main Street in, I nearly said Otrius, in in Yorton, pretty close to the market. This bar owned by a man named Desmond Martin. They call him Badwood Martin because he could really reel off the bad words in everything that he spoke about. Anyway, not talking about Mr. Martin now. So we moved to Cotton Peace and she started her bar. It was pretty successful, I would say, because it was always busy, it was always booming, always crowded. And I have a few memories there. I must say though that that day that we were moving, I would have been somewhere between 3 and maybe not yet 4. Yeah, somewhere between 3 and 4. Because what I used to kind of add up the age and arrive at the age is the time period which I would have remembered stuff happening, and then the birth of my brother. Maybe I'm 2 years later or so, and he's like 5 years younger than I am. So I put it that my first memory would have been about that age. Being there and the business going on, I remember that there were instances wherein, say when you're on the path of success, you gain many friends. But when you're on the path of not being so successful, you lose them. Well, most of them, if not all. And that is when you know who your true friends are. Anyways, while living there, because we also lived on the same building, because I always realize this, whatever business my mother has, the home is always attached to it. So she always rent the place wherein she can live there and do her business at the same time. So I remember as time progressed, I didn't remember seeing her pregnant, but I just know that one night she left me with some neighbors. They were very nice people that took really good care of me. And I don't know if it was the next day she came back or a few days later, but I know that when she came back, I saw her with a baby, my little brother, O'Neill, and I went back home, and I don't know if the business was open then or not, because like I said, I was pretty young then, so I wouldn't really remember that part if she had somebody working in her bar for her at that time or she closed it for a short while, I'm not sure. But as time progressed now, one day I was outside, maybe it was close to evening too. I remember that I said I wanted to go use and then I didn't say bathroom. I wanted to go use the toilet. And even though where we were, we had everything for ourselves except for the bathroom, the toilet. It was like a communal toilet, so everybody in the yard would share the toilet. So I would say it was kind of a tenement setting, even though there were all different houses and all of that. But yeah, I would say it was. And I remember I asked to go to the toilet. But then, according to my mother, I was taking too long to come back. So she went to see what was taking me so long. So when she went, and she checked in the toilet. She saw me and a little boy in there with both our lower clothes off or drawn down. I don't know if we do anything or not. I don't know what the situation was, if we did just have our clothes down, but I know that both of us got a sound thrashing. She beat it two away. And that sparked a major argument in that yard. There was a big uproar, a big cussing, a big cursing out with the boy's mother and my mother, along with their other relatives. And it was a big blah. And friendships were severed as a result of that. And in them time, they know in that community, those people, they are very strong in the belief of Obia. And I remember that my mother became ill pretty soon after she and the baby. I was not ill. And it was to the point that it was like she was going to die. I don't know if she went to doctors or not, to tell the truth, but I remember that there was this lady. I'm not quite sure of her name at the moment. I don't remember at the moment, but I'm seeing her face in my memory. And she came and she boiled up this bath with, I think, bamboo leaves and some other bushes and stuff, and she used it to the warm thing to bathe my mother in it and all of that. I don't know what she was given to drink, and she became better a few days later. However, prior to that, some days before, I remember that the bar was very full, and apparently it was my bedtime, time for me to go to bed, and my mother sent me to my bed. But when I went into the room, I vividly remember to this day, I saw a woman standing and looking down on my baby brother. She had on a felt hat. I don't know what her face looks like, because like I said, when I entered the room, she was standing and looking down on the baby. So I went back out into the bar and told my mother that there's a woman in the room looking down on the baby, and I don't want to go in there because I'm scared. And she ran me and said, go to your bed. No, no, nothing in our room. I don't believe in a dopey and nothing in the go to your bed, or your bed you don't want to go on your bed. I went back in. At that point, there was no one there anymore. Went to my bed, and it was like a day or two after that both of them felt ill, and got sick. And while she was ill, I must say, and when she got the bath and all of that and felt better, that was the point where she sent away my brother and I to live with a lady across the train line close to Pleasant Farm. Her name was Lurleen. I don't know her surname, I don't, to tell the truth, but I love that lady dearly. Went to live by Lurleen. We probably lived there for a year or more, or yeah, with about that time, because I remember that was where O'Neill took his first step. He did all his first right over there. And that lady, she was up there. She treated me with so much love. I felt so much love from that lady. And she had, at that time, her children were probably teenagers, and one was, I think the boy was maybe about between 7 and 10. At that time, I would have been 5. Um, my fear of lizard came about from being over there, because one day I was in the yard playing, and on the fence I saw a lizard, a common lizard, one of the biggish ones, not the tiny ones. And I stood there at a little distance and I was looking at it. And I remember one of the daughters, Michelle, she said to me, why are you looking at it like that? Stop staring at it. You know, so you're going to see it in your plate of food when you're eating later, worse a soup. You're going to see it when you open when you get your plate. Stop looking at it. And I don't know if I believed her or what, but my fear of lizards came about from that day forward to this day. Anyway, we would play, they would play Dolly House. O'Neill was always a baby. Sometimes I was a baby too, because, you know, I was small. So when they play in the Dolly House, you being the little one, you would be the baby. And I also remember that, I don't know if it was one of the Dolly House eras or what, but, oh boy, one day the son, because there was one son in that family, one day or evening, I don't know what time of the day, we were inside, he and I, and somehow we were on the bed under the sheet. And I know that I don't know who came in and saw us and pulled off the sheet. And my cry was, "Are you make them catch me? Are you draft me baggy?" And I must say that one of the daughters, Janice, she never let me live it down. I remember even years after, I was so embarrassed. She came by my mother's club because at that time my mother had a club, and I just knew that she was telling her friend about it because it's like everywhere she saw me, she made it her point of duty to say to somebody about that incident. It was quite embarrassing to me growing up, but looking back now, it's just a memory. It's just one of the sketches of my life, one of the steps in my life, one of the things that I did or didn't do as a child growing up. Um, we were over there close to Pleasant Farm at Miss Lurleen, and then my mother, she moved down to Crossroad, now Charlemont area, and she got a place down there to rent wherein it was called Islands Park. And at that place she had a club, restaurant, evolved into go-go club. Um, she would keep old hits, you name it. She kept it there. She had a few firsts too, because I think she was one of the first persons to start keeping old hits in that area back in the early 80s, 1980s. Um, when she started at Allen Park and she settled down, she sent for us. And I remember I didn't want to go back. I wanted to stay with Miss Lurleen because I loved her so much. The love I got from her, I don't think I felt that from my mom. So I just wanted to stay with her. Anyway, Miss Lurleen told me that I had to go back to my mother because she sent for us. And I could always come back and spend time and stuff like that. Anyway, we went back. One of the daughters brought us back. And while when we went back, I remember the place was pretty big. You know, looking at the place now, it's kind of small, but back then it was huge. And I remember there were carpeted rooms. There was this big entrance first and foremost. When you go through the big gate, there's a big yard, a driveway that a number of vehicles can be parked at the same time. And we went in one of the drinking rooms. There was music set up in there at that time too, because she would have music playing, you know, as a background thing to keep the place sounding nice ambience. And as time went by, I settled down there. um there were two drinking rooms, and in those drinking rooms, the big wigs of the day, you know, from Linstead and surrounding area, they would come there. That was their hangout spots. You had people like Mr. Dillon, he owns Cedel Supermarket. You had Mr. Stanica. Uh, not really remembering some of the names now, but if I do remember, I'll pop them in. But those were their meeting place. And the restaurant that she had, it did very well too, because when Charlemont housing scheme was being built, that was where the men from Cedar Construction got their lunch. So she catered for them, and they there was a security place called Crooks Security. She also catered for them. That was where they did their payroll too, because they had the privacy of the drinking rooms. Um, so yeah, I have some good memory of my mother being a businesswoman. Growing up, I thought I was rich. I thought that my mother was rich because I never lacked in the early years, never really lacked. And people thought that she was rich too, but to tell the truth, she was just a struggling single parent trying to make life, trying to make ends meet, trying to make things better for herself and her children. Um, she became involved with one of the persons from the Cedar Construction. Oh gosh, I love that man so much. All my life I've been searching for him, trying, if I meet up people from Cedar Construction, I ask them about him. Frederick Lewis, call him Presier Lewis. He was from Waterhouse, tall, slim, brown guy, but he was really, really caring. And in my mind, for my life, he was always my stepfather, even though, there were different persons that went through my life in that form. But he has a special place in my heart, and I would mind meeting him one day, even though, just to say hi. Um, I remember that there were many fights between them, though, and because my mother, she's a ruler, and she's very strong-headed too. I don't really know what would have sparked the arguments. I know jealousy sometimes, because she was very jealous. She is very jealous. As time went by, sorry for the arms, as time went by, she opened another business establishment in Cotton Peace. So while being in Charlemont area at Islands Park, living there and having that establishment, she got another building to rent. Not where she was at first, but a little bit above, an upstairs building from this man named Carl. And she opened a bar up there. So she had bartenders who worked on shifts at both establishments. And she would traverse from Island Park with stock at times in Lewis's van sometimes to take stock there and to check up on the business. Now, this day in particular, she was taking down some gin and other stuff. Now, one of the silver top gin, that was the name of it, it fell and broke. She took up another one. It also fell and broke. So she took up the third bottle and just threw it on the ground. She didn't allow it to fall from her. And that evolved into an argument between Lewis and her. And they were there arguing. You were saying that she was too ignorant, too short-tempered. Okay, knows people say ignorant and they say irritable or whatever. And they had a big cursing. Anyway, she said to him, the two of them drop and broke. So when me I keep the third one for, might as well me drop it and broke it. Anyway, they finished packing up the liquor in the van and they drove out. I was inside and I heard bloom, a loud explosion. When I ran out, I saw a crowd, and I remember I saw them lifting my mother. She was all bloodied, and she was unconscious. At that time I didn't know about unconscious. I just thought my mother was dead. And I started to cry, I started to holler, to bawl for my mother. I don't know who was consoling me, but someone said to me that she'll be alright. I just took her to the hospital and she'll be alright. Louis, he was there in a daze, walking around, holding his forehead, because I think he got a cut somewhere up there. By night or so, my mom came back home. Her hand was in plaster. Her hand was broken. But thank God she didn't die. She still is alive today. Um, but it was a horrific experience though, at that young tender age, not knowing if my mother was okay or not. Um, after a while they broke up, and she became involved with this young man who was from St. Elizabeth, called him Tony. Name is Errol Anthony Witter. That relationship produced my youngest brother, Floydie. Um, he used to sell in the Linstead market. That's Tony. He would sell like, foodstuffs, scallion, seasoning, scallion, thyme, Irish carrot, you name it. It was St. Elizabeth stuff that people sell. And he was really good to us. He was younger than my mother too, but he was really good to us. He had locks, very fine, pretty locks. And I must say that in those days when you saw people with locks, you turn your nose up. His locks, nowadays people are grooming and all of that. I think he was one of the first persons to groom his locks. And if he bathed 10 times for the day, he washed his hair with shampoo also. So he was always smelling so fresh, so nice, so good. You never smell him anyway funny. And food was never short. Melon and those stuff were, place was always filled with it and all. But I never ate melon them days. Those days you couldn't get me to eat certain things. Things that I eat now I never used to eat. I never even used to drink water. Juice only. My mother used to say if I was a goat and that it would, let me be sick. Thank God to date, I've never been ill in regard to anything water related or the lack thereof. Um, I During this time, I must say though, my first basic school was Town Hall Basic School in Yorton, after which she transferred me to a closer basic school called Louisa Haywood Basic School in Crossroads. After which I went to Yorton Primary. From Yorton Primary, I went to St. Catherine High. After St. Catherine High, I did a short stint at Duff's Business College. Never completed. Then I stopped. I'll tell you about that maybe in another video. So yeah, those were the earliest memories of my life. In a gist, I also remember, well, life at Island Park. Let me just put it there because Island Park was where a lot of my early memories were. I remember being there up until high school, the early part of high school, before we removed from there, went back to Cotton Peace to live in a different place. This time it was a house, there was no business. But then my mother, she built a little thing and put at the front and sold stuff in it. During that time, she also was, well, from at Island Park, she would also travel overseas and purchase clothing and come back and sell in the market at Linstead. Sometimes I would go there and stay on the weekend or so. I remember one time there were some persons who sold in the market, and on Wednesdays they would sell in Falmouth Market, and they encouraged me to come with them also. I asked my mom. She was hesitant, but then they promised that they would take care of me. There was this girl called Charmaine. Her father's name was Rog. She was a bit older than me, and my mom was very good friends with her mother and father, so she allowed me to go because she trusted Charmaine. So how they would travel to go to Falmouth though is on the back of trailers, flatbed trailers. They would hitch rides and pack the stuff on it and sit on top, and in the late nights travel to Falmouth. No, I've never had an experience like this prior to that, and I grew up on the soft side. I was not really exposed to the rougher side of things and outdoor stuff and all of that. I was always one who had to be in my mother's bar or shop or stuff like that. I never really had a childhood where you go outside and you play a lot and all of that. You know, got to go out with friends and all of that. No. Spent my life being in my mother's businesses and being around the counter from as early as I can remember. I can do any mathematical thing in my head without pen and paper, and it stemmed from that. I love figures. Um, Customer service, I guess I learned it there too. Although in these last days, I don't really like the customer service side because persons tend to look at everything you do and say and call it attitude nowadays. This thing called attitude that just makes people's lives miserable because people do not look at the good attitude, they look at the bad and they just term it attitude. So it doesn't matter how many good things you have done, you probably changed an expression and you have bad attitude and makes life miserable. Anyway, that evening we went down at this bridge, down crossroad down the Zephyton, yeah. Right at the bridge close to the train line. We waited there until we got a trailer and they packed up the stuff on top. I never know the first thing off to go up on the back of the trailer. Anyway, they helped me, they pushed me up. There was this cute guy there named Kurt. Um, he was among them and some others. Um, that was one of my first crushes. Not never come out tight, so it was just a crush. And we went to Falmouth the night. Now, driving on the trailer and all of that, we experienced cold weather, fog, and everything, driving through Monique and all of that. No, I became ill because I'm not used to that, like I said before. And from the night when we reached Falmouth in the market to sleep in the market on stalls and something, never experienced that before either. I became ill. My asthma came on. And I must say that those people, they rallied around. They rallied around me. And they nursed me. They rubbed me down. They got things for me to take. I don't know, one item was sold, but they sold my stuff and they brought every money, every cent to me. They never took a dollar. So you see, in all aspects of life, in every way, you have people who are honest, you have people who are caring and helpful in all walks of life. People might look at persons in the market and say, sure, them are gang goat, them no care for one another, then live bad and all of that. No, it's not always like that. They do look out for each other. And yeah, came back, I gave my mother the money, it's sweet her, she smiled. She said that I could go back another time. I went back, but the following visits to the market in Falmouth wasn't as successful as the first time. After a while, I didn't go back anyway. Um, in the same market era, I remember some of the weekends I would go to the Linstead market for her and be there. During all of this time, it was close to Christmas one of the years, and my mother promised me that she would let me go to Grand Market. Now, being an only daughter, I must say that my mother locked down on me. She didn't give me space, no breathing space. I was not allowed to go out. I was not allowed to enjoy. You know, just like how other friends, other young people would be able to sometimes go out, socialize, and enjoy themselves. I was not allowed to do that. And I remember she promised that I could go to the Grand Market. I was there selling, but she promised that she would come down and let me go home and change and go out with my friends that year and enjoy myself at Grand Market. That day in particular, when she came to, I nearly said Otrius again, she came to Linstead and said that I could go up. I went back home We were still at Island Park. The club was still going on. The bartender at that, one of the bartenders at that time, her name was Hopi. She lived close by. And I was there. It wasn't anybody's shift yet, so I was there in the bar in the day part, helping out until it was time for the shift of the person to start. Now I realized that time was coming and it looked like my mother not coming or sending for me as she promised, for me to be able to go to Grand Market. So I remember I went into her room and I saw this bottle of hair relaxer on her dresser. And I took it up and I went to the bartender and I said, Hopi, come do my hair for me. And she came and she relaxed my hair for me. And it stretched down and it was all long and looking nice and all of that. And I had this neighbor, he was from Trelawney like my mother. They were childhood friends. And somewhere, somehow, Harvey Morrison. So Harvey, he saw that my hair was processed. And I'm one of them old-fashioned type of parents who say, pick me hair, nothing do. It must stay natural because a woman them out turning up. Anyways, he went to Linstead and he told my mother that Suzette was up there turning into a woman because she up there with her hair cream. Now I heard that my mother was in Linstead tearing mad, saying that whenever she reached back home that day, she was gonna rip me apart and she was gonna bust my ass. Because I'm putting it in the terms that she would have said it. I'm not gonna use English right through. There are times wherein I will, switch to our language. So anyway, I was up there really worried. But that day in particular, I happened to drink a Suppligen. Mind you, I drink Suppligen all the time. Those days they were in the can, those original cans that you would, not the little flimsy ones now. And Suppligen did really taste good too. When I had it, I told all over me was filled with bumps and stuff, and I was really itching and stuff. So Opie, she was giving me stuff to take and all that. So of course, when my mother came home and saw me sick, no beating that take place because the worry was now to make sure that I got better and I was beyond anything serious. She never really quarreled about my hair. She just said to me, so you want your hair to do? Fine. And from then, I would switch from one hairstyle to the other. You name the hairstyle, I've been through it all during my lifetime. The only hairstyle that I've never done is locking because I really don't like it. I like to admire it, but I don't like it for myself. Um, Prior to that, though, I forgot to mention this that when I was about 6, 7 years old, I don't think I was 8 years old yet. Whenever my mother went to the hairdressers, her hairdresser's name was Myrna. Her shop was in Yorton on Aunt Rose's building, Crystal Bakery's building. And sometimes she would take me with her. Now, this day in particular, she took me to the hairdresser with her. And I was there, all excited, looking around as usual. And, you can't really sit down one place, get a hairdresser and all of that. And you're out. And I remember my mother said to me, but I wanted to be done to my hair because normally my hair would be shampooed there too. And she said what I wanted to do to my hair today. And I said, I wanted to cream. And she said to Myrna, cream my hair. And they were like, you sure? Because our hair is so pretty and it all spoil up and all that. She said, yeah, she wanted to be cream it. And I remember my hair was done. And passing down at my grandfather's shop, my grandmother happened to be at the front. That was Doc, Mr. Wisdom Eli, beside police station, Miss Tiny, my grandmother. And Miss Tiny was very upset. And she was like, you turn the pitney, you spoil up the pitney good here with cream. You're going to spoil up the pitney good here with cream. Look what you do to the pitney here. Anyway, that was the first of it. Now, when we reach home now, as usual, my duty was to be around the bar counter help, bartender or no. That was my duty. I had to be there helping. That was my job. Now, this evening in particular, there was a mirror on the counter where the liquor would be. So, you can always look. Now, people are there ordering stuff, and I'm not paying them any attention. My thing was just to be in the mirror every minute. So, of course, they started to complain that they can't get served because all me do is just in the mirror, in the mirror, in the mirror. So, my mother was like, oh, so yeah, man, you're here now at the back, And would you believe that she didn't reprocess my hair? It went back to natural. Some breakage took place and all of that, yeah. And it dried out and it changed and it took a while to be, come back to certain standard. So it went back natural for a number of years until that time when I processed my hair myself. Speaking of hair, I've always been afraid of my hair. As old as I am, I comb my hair myself because as soft as it is, I am really afraid of it. So even back in the days when my mother would comb my hair in the morning, there was not a morning that I didn't get a chop with the comb. Because every morning when she's combing my hair, my hand would be in my head. And the comb would come down. Take your hand out of your head and you are comb it. So of course I learned to comb my hair very quick. And I hated ribbons. So no matter how often ribbons were purchased and placed in my hair, I would come home without them because I just hated those things. I like them now. Sometimes I put ribbons in my hair, but then I hated them. And I learned to comb my hair pretty early. But along the way though, helpers helped to grow me up because my mother always had helpers while we were at Islands Park. Like me say, I live the life. Live life on like a rich picnic, although we're never really rich. Material things, I was never short of it. Shoes, clothes, you name it, I had it. But looking back, the thing that I lacked was love. I don't remember my mother telling me that she loves me, except for a stage in my life when something occurred. I'll tell you about that in a video to come. That was the time I remembered my mother saying to me that she loved me. And it was out of a tragedy that came. I don't remember getting those hugs. What I remember from my mother are the disciplinary side, the beatings, the beratings, the name callings, the shoutings, and all of that. That is what I remember. And I also remember the plenties, the number of shoes, the clothes. I saw something, I wanted it, I got it. Material things. Yeah, I guess that was her way of showing that she loved me because she probably never knew how to show it. Um, so yeah, I grew up with a lot of helpers as my mother, my role model, my mother figure, because even when she used to go away, I don't remember this lady's name, but she was really outstanding in my life. She took really good care. She was like a mother. She beat me too. She was like a mother. She was a disciplinarian, everything. And even though that helper was there were other helpers there at the same time. So she was like responsible for us, and there were other persons who were responsible for tidying up the place and all of that. And this lady in particular, she was in charge of the other persons, the other helpers. And like when my mother was away, I think she was in charge of like seeing that the business was going right. She might not have been running the business or going in it, but collecting the sales and if liquor truck came by, handling the money and stuff like that. Oh yeah, at Island Park we had stuff like pinball machines and jackpots, gambling slot machines, but some of you might know it as. Yeah, I was very good at pinball playing too. Very, very good. I'd really love to see one of those things now to see if I can still play. Um, at one point, the pinballs were in the bar section, but then at another point, she put them out in the dance hall section, and it was kind of a little games room. So students would come by at times to play it. I hope that was not bite me. Look, I'm outside so no can see because I like the outdoors. So yeah, was very good at pinballs. Um, I think I could stop here and then in another video I speak of high school happenings. I can speak of other happenings. I can speak of heartbreaks. I can speak of parenting. I can speak of the question of who am I? That will be the topic of that video. Who am I? And then at that point you'll see why it is named that. That's something that really tears me. Um, I have in all on my mother's side I have 3 brothers, 1 elder, 2 younger. On my father's side I have 3 brothers, all younger. So in all I have 6 brothers, no sisters as far as I know. Bye for now. Oh, before I go, I must say thanks to all those who watched my introduction yesterday. Thanks for the likes. Thanks for the subscriptions. Please continue to like, share, and subscribe. Bye for now. Thank you.